Story of the RensMona. Chapter 1 title, A Decade in Silence. I found myself standing at a crossroads. It wasn't a physical one, but one in my mind, where the past 10 years flashed before me in a blur of unspoken words and silent heartache. My heart had stopped moving forward the day I realized I loved her, Mona. We had always been close, almost inseparable. To her, I was a friend, someone reliable, someone she could count on. But to me, she was more. I had kept my feelings hidden for a decade, hoping that one day she would see me the way I saw her. That day never came. It all began when I was just a young boy, filled with hope and dreams of what could be. Mona was a constant presence in my life. Her laughter was infectious, and her smile had a way of brightening even my darkest days. But over time, something inside me changed. What was once a simple friendship had evolved into something deeper, something more profound. I realized I was in love with her, but I couldn't find the courage to tell her. The years went by, and with each passing day, I found myself falling deeper into a love that was never reciprocated. Mona had her own life, her own dreams, and I was just a shadow in the background. Whenever I was around her, I tried to act like nothing had changed. I kept my feelings buried deep, believing that one day she would realize the truth. But it became harder and harder to hide. I remember vividly the night it all came crashing down. We were at a family gathering, one of those moments that should have been filled with joy. But something felt off. My heart ached, my mind was clouded, and I was on edge. I wanted to tell her the truth, but the words never came. And then, the unthinkable happened. She sat there, looking fragile under the ancient tree, surrounded by the ones she loved. My heart sank. The words she spoke that night, words I had feared for so long, were ones I would never forget. You are like a brother to me. It felt as though the world had stopped. I had loved her for 10 years, but to her, I was just a friend. Just a brother. In that moment, I lost not only the love I had held onto for so long but also the friend I cherished. I was numb. My heart melted, and my soul felt hollow. The pain was unbearable. All those years of silence, of hoping, of waiting for something more, had come crashing down in a single sentence. I didn't know how to react, how to breathe. The ground beneath me felt like it was slipping away. I tried to speak, to explain my feelings, but my voice failed me. My heart raced, and I felt a heavy weight on my chest. I looked into her eyes, hoping to find some glimmer of understanding, but all I saw was confusion. She didn't see me the way I saw her. She never had. I had been living in a fantasy, holding on to a love that never truly existed. The truth hit me hard. I had wasted 10 years of my life, caught in the spiral of overthinking and self-doubt. I had become a prisoner of my own mind, unable to move forward, unable to let go. I thought that one day I would rise above it all, that I would finally have the courage to tell her how I felt. But that day never came. My mental health began to deteriorate. I stopped focusing on myself, stopped caring about my future. The burden of unspoken love weighed me down. Sometimes, I would cry in the middle of the night, overwhelmed by the pain of rejection. Other times, I would laugh, trying to convince myself that it wasn't real, that it was just a bad dream. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had lost her. I had lost myself. I remember the day my world truly fell apart. It was the day I received the news of my aunt's death. She had been a guiding light in my life, a pillar of strength. We gathered at the graveyard, beneath the shade of the ancient tree where so many memories had been made. As I stood there, watching her being laid to rest, I felt an overwhelming sense of grief. But it wasn't just grief for my aunt. It was grief for the life I had lost, the love I had wasted, and the friend I would never have again. I had always believed that if I worked hard enough, if I made something of myself, I would one day be able to confess my love to Mona. But now, standing in the graveyard, I realized that some things were never meant to be. She had slipped through my fingers, and I was left alone, trapped in a world of my own making. The weeks that followed were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind was clouded, my heart broken. I stopped taking care of myself. Harmful habits crept in, as I tried to numb the pain with anything that would make me forget. But nothing worked. I was lost, consumed by the darkness inside me. In the end, it didn't matter. The damage had been done. The love I had held onto for so long was gone, and there was no bringing it back. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, I began to realize something. The pain I had felt, the heartache, the grief, it had all been part of my journey. A journey that had brought me to this point. A journey that had taught me the value of letting go. I still think of Mona sometimes and the love I once had for her. But it's no longer a source of pain. Instead, it's a reminder of how far I've come, of the strength I've found within myself. The chapter of my life that involved her is over, but a new one is beginning. One where I can finally move forward, unburdened by the past, ready to embrace whatever the future may hold. Now, as I sit here, reflecting on the past, I see things more clearly. I see that love cannot be forced, that some things are beyond our control. I had spent 10 years chasing a dream that was never meant to be, but in the process, I had learned so much about myself.
In the graveyard's evening shadows, beneath the ancient tree, I am near the ones I loved, with grief and memory. The love I held so dearly, seen as just a friend, rejected and forgotten, the heartache wouldn't end. Lost in the shadows of the past, the pain I cannot hide, grieving the loss and feeling lost, with nowhere left to confide. In the frantic search for you, my heart was left behind, only to discover late you were there in the car unseen. The incense placed in the grave, a scent of final farewells. My body aches, my mind is lost in sorrow's darkened spells. At the scene of my aunt's burial, I placed the incense with care. Confusion clouded my path as I tried to make things right, but you slipped away, out of reach in the dimming light of evening. Lost in the shadows of the past, the pain I cannot hide, grieving the loss and feeling lost, with nowhere left to confide. In the frantic search for you, my heart was left behind, only to discover late you were there in the car unseen. Running through my tears and pain, searching for what I missed, finding out too late that you were safe. My heart was dismayed, the search, the loss, the aching feet, and finally understanding. In the chaos of the farewell, my heart was left demanding. Now I sit in quiet thought, acceptance by my side, grieving and reflecting, with the memories as my guide. The love I held so silently, the loss that's now so clear. In the wake of what we've lost, I find the strength to steer.